I'm going to tell you something that your father, your teachers, your society never had the courage to say out loud. It's not motivational. It's not spiritual. It's not nice. But once you hear it, you won't be able to unhear it. Because what I'm about to reveal doesn't improve your outlook. It changes your operating system. 500 years ago, Niccolo Machiavelli wrote the most hated sentence in political history. In the actions of all men, especially princes, we look to the outcome. Or as it's now summarized, the end justifies the means. That idea was so dangerous that moralists called him evil. The church tried to bury him, and yet, presidents read him in secret. CEOs quote him behind closed doors. Generals, intelligence agencies, billionaires, all operate on this principle while pretending they don't. Why? Because Machiavelli didn't describe the world as we wish it was. He described the world as it actually is. And here's the part that should disturb you. Those who understood this first, they became presidents, they became tycoons, they became the people who run the world while smiling like they're saints. They preach ethics to the masses and strategy to themselves. You were trained to care about being right. They were trained to care about winning. You were told to protect your reputation. They were told to protect their interests. You were conditioned to fear the consequences of bold decisions. They were conditioned to fear not making them. So ask yourself, why does every children's story teach sacrifice and virtue, while every powerful person you admire lives by advantage and leverage? Because a population obsessed with being good is easy to control. A man who fears being wrong will stop himself long before anyone else has to. But here's the truth. No one wants you to realize. There is no moral reward for losing. There is only losing. The world does not measure your intentions. It measures your outcomes. Fail with good values, and you still fail. Win by methods others fear, and suddenly every critic respects your courage. This is the shift that creates dangerous men. Stop worrying about looking righteous. Start worrying about whether your life actually amounts to anything. If that makes you uncomfortable, good. That means the conditioning is cracking. Keep listening. I'm going to show you Machiavelli's most feared idea, how winners actually think about ethics, sacrifice, and consequences. This will not make you comfortable. It will make you accountable. So before we go further, like this video, subscribe and turn on notifications, because once you see how the end justifies the means really works, you will never look at morality, success, or your own decisions the same way again. All your life, you were fed a carefully engineered script. Play fair. Don't cheat. Winning isn't everything. As long as you tried your best, you should be proud. It sounds noble. It sounds honorable. It sounds like the foundation of a good society. It's also the reason millions of men die disappointed. Because while you were taught to obsess about being a good person, other people were being taught to obsess about getting what they want. You were trained to judge yourself by intentions. They were trained to judge everything by results. You were taught to protect your image. They were taught to protect their leverage. You were programmed to feel guilty for crossing a line. They were programmed to feel guilty for not crossing it. Machiavelli understood the human world better than anyone before or after him. He wrote, "Men judge actions by the result, not by effort, not by morality, not by the purity of your heart, by the outcome." Here's how society really works. If you take a risk and it fails, you're called irresponsible. If you take a risk and it succeeds, you're called brilliant. If you break a rule and lose, you're called immoral. If you break a rule and win, you're called a leader. It's the same behavior. Two completely different judgments, determined only by whether the move paid off. Society forgives almost anything if it leads to a result they admire. Think about your own life. The man who loses the girl is told, "At least you are honest about your feelings." But that doesn't bring her back, does it? The business owner who goes bankrupt is praised for being ethical, honest, a good man. But he still loses the house, doesn't he? The soldier who fights with honor but loses the war doesn't get to redraw the borders. The world does not reward your integrity. It rewards your impact. And that's the truth you were shielded from. Because if you understood this too early, you'd become harder to manage. You'd stop waiting for permission. You'd stop asking for validation. You'd stop sacrificing yourself to make everyone else comfortable. You'd start building a life where you win. Society doesn't want that. Society wants obedient workers, predictable citizens, men who fear stepping outside the lines. They want men who choose regret over criticism. They want men who would rather be liked than successful. They want men who take pride in losing the right way. Because those men never become powerful enough to challenge anything. So they sell you the ultimate lie. Doing the right thing is more important than the outcome. But if that were true, why do companies celebrate revenue, not honesty? Why do politicians campaign on results, not humility? Why does history worship conquerors, not caretakers? Why does the world only remember the people who changed it? Here's the first brutal shift you must make. Stop asking, "Did I follow all the rules?" Start asking, "Did my actions move me closer to the life I want?" Because when you're dead, nobody is engraving your intentions on a gravestone. They won't write, "He was kind, but invisible. He played fair, but stayed small. He lived clean, but achieved nothing." People will only care about one thing. Did your life amount to anything? That's the Machiavellian perspective. Not cruelty, not greed, clarity. The clarity that tells you your life is the scoreboard, not your heart, not your excuses, not your comfort, your results. And right now, you have to decide what kind of man you're going to be going forward. The one who continues clinging to a moral script that keeps him obedient, or the one who steps into a world where impact matters more than innocence. There's a story you've been telling yourself your whole life. I'd rather keep my integrity than hurt anyone. I don't want to step on toes. I don't want anyone to think I'm a bad person. Sounds noble, sounds admirable, sounds like something society would applaud. But here's what Machiavelli would tell you. Most men don't fail because they are immoral. Most men fail because they are too scared to be seen as immoral. You've been trained to fear guilt more than regret, to fear disapproval more than irrelevance, to fear being the villain in someone else's story more than being a nobody in your own. That's why most lives end quietly. No great victories, no unforgettable mark. Just a man who tried to stay good and ended up harmless. Let's be honest. You didn't take that opportunity because you didn't want to betray anyone. But the people you protected replaced you without a thought. You didn't cut off that toxic friend because you didn't want to hurt his feelings. But he drained years of your life you will never get back. You didn't negotiate your worth because you didn't want to seem greedy. But your family still pays the price for your humility. You kept your hands clean, and you paid with your future. The world rewards what improves it. It doesn't reward what pleases it. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. If you do what is necessary, you will be labeled cruel only until you succeed. We treat necessary force as evil right up until it works. Then we call it leadership. Think about history. Great leaders made decisions that hurt people, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. The ones who refused. You don't know their names, because the world never wrote them down. That's the cost of clean hands. You become forgettable. Here's what no one tells you. Every meaningful outcome requires a sacrifice. Someone has to feel pain. Someone has to lose something. Someone has to take the blame. You've been trying to live a life where nobody ever does, where you never demand the promotion, where you never compete aggressively, where you never walk away from those holding you back, where you never enforce boundaries that others dislike. You want victory with no losers, power with no enemies, success with no discomfort. That's not virtue. That's delusion. The man who refuses to hurt anyone inevitably hurts himself and everyone who depends on him. That's the real moral crime. You think you're being saintly, but you're simply avoiding responsibility for the damage caused by your inaction. You didn't fire the incompetent employee, so the company suffered. You didn't confront the cheating partner, so the betrayal grew deeper. You didn't enforce your boundaries, so resentment replaced love. Cowardice dressed up as kindness is still cowardice. Here's the harsh truth you must swallow. You cannot be significant without becoming the villain in someone's narrative. If no one ever sees you as ruthless, you never did anything that mattered. You will either cause wounds or be wounded. You will either create fear or live in it. You will either set the rules or obey them. There is no neutral existence. Neutrality is just losing slowly. This is why Machiavelli despised the fantasy of total morality, because a man obsessed with staying pure rapidly becomes powerless. And powerless men cannot protect themselves, cannot protect others, cannot protect their destiny. He wrote, "A prince who cannot be feared cannot be secure. Replace prince with man." The truth stays the same. If you cannot create consequences, you do not have control. If you cannot act when it hurts, you do not have options. If you cannot accept that some people must dislike you, you do not yet deserve success. So here is the second dark shift you must make. Stop worshiping the idea of looking good. Start worshiping the reality of doing what must be done. Because the world does not reward your innocence. It rewards your effect. And when your life is over, there are only two possibilities. You die with clean hands and a list of things you never dared to try. Or you die with scars that prove you actually lived. Only one of those stories is worth remembering. Let's drop the fantasy once and for all. The people we honor in history books, the leaders, the warriors, the revolutionaries, the founders, weren't praised for being gentle. They were praised for changing the world. And changing the world has never been a clean activity. Every empire ever built required someone else's empire to crumble. Every revolution that brought freedom came wrapped in blood and betrayal. Every industry giant that created opportunity destroyed thousands of competitors along the way. Morality did not crown these men as heroes. Victory did. This is the uncomfortable truth. We only call people evil when their risks don't pay off. If a rebel fails, he's a criminal. If he succeeds, he's a founding father. If a general loses, he's a butcher. If he wins, he's a savior of the nation. If a CEO collapses the company, he's a ruthless sociopath. If he 10 times its value, he's a strategic genius. Same behaviors, same violations, same immorality. Outcome changes the narrative. Winners write the rulebook retroactively. Machiavelli looked at this with brutal clarity. The result excuses the action, not celebrates it, excuses it. Society chooses its heroes based on who stands victorious at the end, not based on who never sinned. And you see it in modern life every day. Politicians who lie, manipulate, break promises, but get re-elected because the economy is strong. Influencers who fake everything. but stay idolized because they deliver the feeling people crave. Athletes who cheat, but remain legends because they brought championships home. The story is rewritten to make success look moral from the start. But here's the most sinister part. It's not that morality doesn't matter. It's that morality is flexible in the hands of the powerful and rigid in the hands of the powerless. When you win, people reinterpret your intentions as noble. When you lose, people reinterpret your intentions as selfish. That's why most people are terrified of taking bold action. Because if they fail, they don't just lose, they get judged. So they try to hedge their bets. They avoid risk. They avoid conflict. They avoid boldness. And then they wonder why their life never becomes bold. Listen very carefully. If you want to rise in this world, you must accept the possibility that you will be hated before you are respected. Because here is the Machiavellian sequence of public opinion. Step 1, they mock you. Step 2, they doubt you. Step 3, they fear you. Step 4, they admire you. Step 5, they rewrite your story as destiny. People only applaud your morals once your power proves they cannot stop you. Think about every great innovator. At first, crazy. Then, dangerous. Finally, visionary. People only bless the path after you've already reached the destination. So here is the third dark shift you must make. Do not let morality hold you back from building something moral in the end. If your long-term achievement lifts you and the people you care about, then short-term harshness was not sin. It was a down payment on a better reality. But weak men misunderstand this. They use Machiavelli as an excuse to act evil for no purpose. They sabotage friendships for petty ego. They lie constantly for tiny advantages. They betray loyalty just to feel powerful. This is not strategy. This is insecurity. The Machiavellian mindset is not, I'll do whatever I want. It is, I will pay any necessary price for a worthy end. The key word is worthy. A kingdom is a worthy end. A legacy is a worthy end. Protecting those who depend on you is a worthy end. Rising so you can lift others is a worthy end. Hurting people because you're frustrated? Not worthy. Cheating because you lack discipline? Not worthy. Backstabbing because you crave attention? Not worthy. Machiavelli demands a smarter question. If you stain your hands, make sure it's for something heavy enough to bear the stain. Because the world doesn't reward pointless ruthlessness. It rewards effective ruthlessness. And if you succeed, all the fear, all the judgment, all the accusations will be rewritten as necessary sacrifice. But only if you succeed. That's why this is terrifying. You must be willing to be hated now so you can be honored later. Morality is not a starting point. It is a luxury earned by winning first. So the real decision is the one staring you in the mirror. Do you want to be pure, or do you want to be powerful enough to purify the world you touch? Because those two outcomes are rarely given to the same man. The moment people hear, the end justifies the means, they imagine cartoon villains twirling mustaches. They think Machiavelli was teaching men to become monsters. Wrong. Machiavelli was warning you about two very different types of ruthlessness: stupid evil and necessary evil. Stupid evil is what amateurs do. Necessary evil is what winners do. Most people confuse the two. Let's break them down. Stupid evil is impulsive, emotional, ego-driven. It destroys more than it gains. It sacrifices the future for a cheap hit of power in the moment. Examples: yelling at subordinates because it makes you feel dominant, but they now hate you and work worse. Breaking trust for a tiny advantage, but you permanently lose an ally. Cheating in a relationship for excitement, but losing someone who truly cared. That's not strategy. That's insecurity on fire. Weak men lash out because they have no other tools. They can't build, so they break. They can't rise, so they drag down. Machiavelli mocked these men. Hatred is gained as much by good works as by bad, meaning even your evil must be intelligent, or it collapses onto you. Stupid evil tries to look powerful, but it reveals weakness, and weak men using evil still end up weak. Now look at the other side. Necessary evil is controlled, focused, intentional. It sacrifices comfort to protect a larger goal. It takes a short-term hit to secure long-term dominance. Examples: firing one toxic employee to save the company, ending a friendship that holds you back, cutting a business partner who slows you down, standing firm on a boundary, even if someone gets upset. This isn't cruelty. This is self-respect enforced. Machiavelli understood this deeply. One must be a fox to see traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Necessary evil is the fox and the lion, aware and decisive. It doesn't destroy anything that isn't already threatening the mission. It doesn't attack people. It removes obstacles. It doesn't create chaos. It controls it. Necessary evil is what fathers do to protect a family, what CEOs do to protect a company, what leaders do to protect a nation. Not because they want to hurt others, but because they refuse to watch everything collapse politely. Here's the deadly line between the two. Stupid evil comes from insecurity. Necessary evil comes from responsibility. Stupid evil is constant. Necessary evil is rare. Stupid evil burns bridges. Necessary evil crosses them. Stupid evil destroys reputation. Necessary evil strengthens it. Stupid evil is done to avoid fear. Necessary evil is done while carrying fear. You can always tell which one a man uses by what remains after he acts. Stupid evil leaves a mess. Necessary evil leaves progress. So how do you tell the difference in your own life? Ask yourself one cold question. Does this action build a future I'm proud of, or just soothe a feeling I'm scared of? If it builds, you're being strategic. If it merely soothes, you're being stupid. Most men choose soothing, because soothing gives quick relief. Building feels like pain. That's why most men never escape their circumstances. They can't tolerate short-term discomfort, even if it buys long-term power. They want leadership without sacrifice, respect without boundaries, security without conflict. Impossible. Here's the fourth dark lesson. The right move is often the one that keeps you up at night, but secures your life for decades. Stupid evil doesn't understand that. Necessary evil lives by it. The men you admire, the ones with legacy, authority, a name that echoes, they didn't enjoy every decision they made. They suffered for the greater result. They earned the right to rewrite the morality of those decisions after they worked. Because here is the final truth of this chapter. Doing what is necessary doesn't make you heartless. It proves you have a heart worth protecting. And if you refuse necessary evil when it's required, then someone else's necessary evil will eventually be used against you. Let's get brutally practical. You don't get to shout the end justifies the means every time you want to be selfish. This principle is not a pass to act like a psycho. It is a framework for extreme decisions. Machiavelli wasn't telling you to ignore morality. He was telling you to use morality strategically. So here's the question. How do you decide if a ruthless move is justified? We use a 4-question test. Question 1. Is the end worth the price? Ask yourself, does this outcome meaningfully change my life or the lives of those depending on me? Or is it just ego, comfort, and vanity? If you're about to stain your hands, there better be a kingdom on the other side. Examples: protecting your family's future, securing the success of a mission, removing a dangerous threat, creating a life-changing opportunity. These ends are worthy. But seeking revenge, winning a petty argument, proving someone wrong, chasing applause, those are the games of small men. Never compromise your soul for scraps. Question 2. Is there a cleaner strategy you're avoiding? Be honest. Is the ruthless move truly necessary? Or are you just afraid to take the difficult, disciplined path? Sometimes you call something necessary because the smart approach is hard. Example: you lie because the truth requires courage. You betray because honesty requires humility. You manipulate because transparency requires risk. That is not Machiavellian. That is cowardly. Machiavelli said, "Appear merciful, faithful, humane, but be prepared to act against all of these if necessity requires." Necessity is the key word. If the clean path can work, the dirty path is not justified. Question 3. Can your reputation survive the blowback? Machiavelli cared more about appearance than inner virtue. Your reputation is your shield. Once destroyed, you are naked. If a ruthless move will damage the way powerful allies see you, then the end must be strong enough to make you independent of their opinion. Example: if you burn a bridge, you better already own the other side. Think like a chess player. Do not sacrifice the queen to free a pawn. Question 4. Can you carry the consequence? This is the part most men ignore. You must be psychologically strong enough to live with what you've done. Real power has a cost. You pay with your peace. You pay with your image. You pay with the version of yourself who believed life could stay clean. If a decision will rot your soul from the inside, ask whether the victory is worth the decay. Every ruthless act takes something from you. The question is, does it give more back? Put it all together. If the answer is, the outcome is meaningful, there is no clean alternative. The reputation cost is strategic. You can carry the guilt. Then you act, calmly, decisively, without apology. But if even one answer is weak, you wait, you think, you strategize. Because here's the 5th dark lesson. A Machiavellian move is only righteous if it makes you too strong to be punished for it. If you act ruthlessly but stay weak, you are not Machiavellian. You are lunch. One more warning. Most men pay a moral price for nothing. They lie for social approval. They cheat for cheap pleasure. They betray for status crumbs. They manipulate for validation. They throw away their character to gain moments. Machiavelli didn't admire these men. He pitied them because they stain their hands without building anything. And here is where your choices separate you from the forgettable. If you must cross a line, cross it to create something bigger than the line itself. Cross it to build, protect, rise, conquer, transform. Anything less is just stupidity pretending to be power. The next step is the hardest one. You must create a code you can live with. A set of rules that define which ends justify which means for you. Not for religion, not for society, not for anyone demanding you stay small. Now you are the author of your ethics and the judge of your results. And that is where a dangerous man is born. Most men believe peace is the default state of life. They think conflict is a rare event, a storm that comes and goes. Machiavelli knew better. He wrote, "There is no avoiding war. It can only be postponed to the advantage of others." Understand that line. War isn't something that might happen. War is something that is already happening. Right now. Around you. Against you. In silence. In shadows. In the minds of others. The world is a battlefield politely pretending not to be a battlefield. Your career is war. Your relationships are war. Your social life is war. Your future is war. Somebody wants your position. Somebody wants your influence. Somebody wants your opportunities. Somebody wants your partner. Somebody wants your silence. There are predators watching you sleepwalk through life and calling it peace. If you think you're safe because no one is swinging swords at you, you're confusing peace with blindness. The quiet wars that define your life. War today doesn't look like armor and flags. War looks like a coworker smiling while plotting your replacement, a friend rooting for you to stay slightly below them, a partner testing how much disrespect you're willing to tolerate, a stranger positioning themselves to take what you won't protect. Power is always contested. Value is always envied. Space is always fought for. Every moment you're alive, the question is, are you advancing or retreating? Because standing still is just a slow surrender. The lie peace tells you peace tricks you into believing. You don't need to train anymore. You don't need to set boundaries. You can relax now. No one wants what you have. That's exactly when you're most vulnerable. When you think no one is hunting you is when you become the easiest prey. Ask anyone who's been betrayed. It came out of nowhere. No, it came slowly. While you were asleep. Prepare in peace. So you don't bleed in war. Machiavelli understood something modern men forget. A warrior doesn't sharpen his blade when the enemy arrives. He sharpens it every morning. Preparation is not something you do only when danger becomes visible. Preparation is what keeps danger from ever reaching you. Here are the men who win the silent wars. The man who builds wealth even when the job feels secure. The man who trains his body even when there's no threat. The man who builds network and influence when life is calm. The man who continues to learn when others think they've arrived. He prepares in peace, so he doesn't panic under fire. Because here's the sixth dark lesson. The most dangerous fight you ever lose is the one you never saw coming. The Fox and the Lion. Machiavelli left us a warning disguised as an animal story. Be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Most men choose one. They're strong but blind, the lion who steps into every trap. Or they're clever but weak, the fox who gets torn apart when cornered. To survive long enough to rise, you must become both. The fox, who studies intentions, detects threats early, senses shifts in loyalty. The lion, who strikes decisively, sets boundaries, radiates consequence. If you lack either, your enemies will find the angle that kills you. You don't have to start wars, but you must be able to finish them. The strongest men are usually the quietest, not because they are soft, but because everyone senses the violence they are capable of. A man visibly ready for war rarely has to fight at all. Predators are not stupid. They pick the easiest target. Make sure that target is never you. Let others chase comfort. Let others pretend peace will last forever. Let others surrender their vigilance. You sharpen, you study, you strengthen, you stay ready. Because peace is just the temporary silence between battles you haven't seen yet. War never stops. Only the blind get surprised. And you're not blind anymore. You've been following a moral script written for you by other people. Parents, teachers, bosses, society, religion. They gave you rules. They gave you definitions of good. They gave you boundaries. Why? To make you predictable. To make you manageable, to make you convenient. They told you, always forgive. You should give everyone a chance. Be humble. Put others first. It sounds noble. But ask yourself, why do these rules always benefit other people more than they benefit you? Machiavelli understood the brutal truth. There is no universal morality. There are only codes of conduct enforced by those in power. So if you want to rise, you must build a code that protects your mission. not one that sacrifices you to someone else's. Welcome to your next transformation. You must stop living by the rules you were handed and start living by the rules you choose. The code you live by decides the life you get. Most men never realize this. They act as if morality is gravity, fixed and unavoidable. But morality isn't a law of the universe. It's a tool. You can use it to build a life that matters, or be crushed by a morality that was never designed for your success. Here's a dark but liberating reality. Every moment of your life is ruled by a code. The only question is whose. If the code wasn't written by you, it was written to control you. What your personal code must answer. Your code isn't just values. It's a strategic guide for ruthless decisions. It must answer 3 questions. 1, who deserves my loyalty? Not everyone you care about cares about you. Your code must separate allies you protect with your life versus people you tolerate only because you're afraid of conflict. Loyalty without reciprocity is not virtue. It's slavery. 2, what lines will I cross if survival demands it? Weak men say, I would never do that. Strong men say, I pray I never have to. But if the day comes, I will. This is where most men fail. They cling to purity until life breaks them. A Machiavellian man chooses which sins he is willing to commit before the crisis arrives. 3, what outcomes are sacred enough to stain my hands for? Not every goal deserves sacrifice. You don't betray your dignity for attention. You don't destroy trust for applause. You don't burn bridges over ego. But for your future children, your life's mission, your legacy, you will walk through fire with eyes open and teeth clenched. The code should be ruthless, not reckless. There is a difference between being dangerous and being destructive. Destructive men break rules to feel powerful. Dangerous men break rules only when power demands it. Your code should prioritize long-term outcomes. Protect your mind, reputation, and future. Place your highest responsibilities above comfort. Demand strength, not perfection. Your code must be cold enough to keep you from being used, but warm enough to make your life worth defending. Your code will have a price. Every strong code does. You will lose people. You will intimidate people. You will be resented by those who benefited from your old weakness. But here's the twist. When you enforce your boundaries, the only people who disappear are the ones who were using you. That's not a loss. That's a filter. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Your code will earn respect first. Love may follow, but respect is non-negotiable. Here's the 7th dark lesson. If your code doesn't scare you a little, it's not strong enough to protect you. A real code forces you to grow. It forces you to lead. It forces you to take responsibility for every outcome your life produces. This is where most men retreat. Back to obedience, back to morality written by others, back to being acceptable instead of unforgettable. But you're not going backward. This brings us to the most terrifying decision. In a world built on conflict, in a society obsessed with compliance, in a game where winners rewrite the rules, will you be the man who apologizes for his ambition, or the man who builds a legacy worth the blood it costs? Because now you can no longer pretend you don't know. Your code will determine your kingdom, and only one of those things will survive you. Everything we've talked about until now, ruthless strategy, necessary sacrifice, building your own code, you can reject it. You can choose the soft path, the praised path, the path they want you to take, the path of being agreeable, compliant, polite, harmless. But before you choose that, Let's look at what that path actually creates. Most people don't fail because of evil. They fail because of obedience. They are good soldiers for a cause that does nothing for them. They shrink so others can expand. They sacrifice so others can feast. They bow so others can stand taller. And the world claps for them because they are no threat to the order of things. You've met these men. They work hard, but never rise. They love deeply, but get disrespected. They follow rules and watch cheaters thrive. They stay loyal to people who would drop them in a heartbeat. Then they spin their suffering into poetry. At least I stayed true to myself. At least I did the right thing. At least I didn't hurt anyone. But they did hurt someone. They hurt themselves every single day. The hidden tax of being good. Being universally good sounds noble, but it has a cost. You become easy to predict, easy to manipulate, easy to step on. You think you're choosing peace, but really, you're choosing to lose silently. You protect everyone's feelings except your own future. You become a background character in your own story, a cautionary tale masquerading as a moral victory. You die with a clean conscience and a wasted legacy. The regret of the harmless. Late in life, men begin to confess. They don't confess their sins. They confess their obediences. I should have left earlier. I should have said no. I should have stood up for myself. I should have taken the risk. Not sins of action, sins of hesitation. They didn't fall because they fought too hard. They fell because they refused to fight at all. The world punished them not for being evil, but for refusing to become dangerous when danger was required. The illusion of moral safety. You think being harmless keeps you safe? No. Wolves don't ignore the harmless. They consume them first. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The promise broken is a necessity of the present. Rules shift, loyalty breaks, alliances change, and if you're still the man clinging to the idea that being good protects you, then you are already defenseless. Because morality doesn't stop predators. Capability does. The final dark lesson. Life demands one of two sacrifices. You sacrifice comfort while rising, or you sacrifice your entire life while staying comfortable. There is no third option. There is no safe neutrality. Every decision you make is either a step towards strength or a step towards surrender. And if you refuse this idea, if you cling to the illusion that clean hands are worth a small life, then remember this: the world will not reward your purity. It will forget your existence. The decision you make right now, you can walk away from this video pretending you didn't hear the truth. You can tell yourself this message was too dark and return to chasing moral approval while other men chase results. Or you can accept that you are now responsible for everything your life will become. You have seen the machinery. You have seen the way power is actually played. You have seen what the winners know and the obedient never learn. You can no longer claim innocence. Only choice remains. Do you want to be remembered for your intentions or for your impact? Because one of those requires stained hands. The other requires a forgotten grave. If you're ready to step fully into this transformation, if you want the full strategy for controlling perception, wielding fear, and securing power, then listen closely. Like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because the next lesson won't just change how you think, it will change who fears you.